celebration. So here with me to go through the papers are royal historians Tessa Dunlop and Kate Williams. Very good to see you both. How are we enjoying the festivities so far this long weekend?
Well, it's been spectacular. It's been incredible. And the weather's played ball, but I'm not sure about today.
You just said it's raining as you came out, but it's spitting very slightly. I'm getting slightly obsessed with this, and I'm giving regular updates of the weather. We'll go through your selections in just a moment. First, let's take a look through those front pages, shall we? And starting with the Mirror, together yet apart, the Cambridges and the Sussexes all attending the Queen's Jubilee service, but still keeping their distance. And it's the same story on the front of the Mail. So far apart is their headline. The Times has words from the Archbishop of York as he pays tribute to an absent Queen at the St Paul's service. And that service is the front image on the Express this morning with the headline, "We give thanks." And a similar sentiment leads the Telegraph. Thank you for staying the course, they say. The Guardian, meanwhile, points out that with no Queen in attendance and the next generation of royals gathering in her place, it seems like we were witnessing a new age for the monarchy. And away from the Jubilee, the Eye leads with the leadership concerns within the Conservative Party and a warning from Boris Johnson's allies to the rest of the party that without him at the helm, they'll lose. The Financial Times, meanwhile, reports a multi-million-pound lawsuit has been filed against administrators of the collapsed Woodford stock market fund to try to recoup the money lost by investors. While the Star reveals that beer bellies are bad for your love life. I really hope we're talking about that one. I suspect we're not.
Not now.
No, not now. Maybe we'll save that up for later because I want to know the details of that one. Anyway, we're going to kick off with a lot of the papers dominated by the Jubilee celebrations, the majority of them. You picked out the Times, Kate, and this their headline reflects what the Archbishop of York said yesterday at the Thanksgiving service.
Well, yes, all the papers, huge Jubilee coverage. There are pictures so big of some of the royals, they could be posters. And this story from the Times really is about the Archbishop's very last-minute sermon. The Archbishop of Canterbury had COVID, so the Archbishop of York gave the sermon, talking about how the Queen wasn't there, but is still in the saddle, and really reflects how she isn't going to be able to be at all these Jubilee events, but she's still the Queen. She is not leaving. She's not going anywhere. She's still here. She's still a significant figure.
And yet, obviously, there was a poignancy to the fact that the Queen wasn't at her own Thanksgiving service, and yet we did see, of course, Prince Charles representing her there. And you're getting a sense over this weekend, aren't you, with Princess Anne stepping in at the Epsom Derby this afternoon, of a sort of gradual handing over of some duty.
Yeah, and I think in some ways that'll do Charles favours, and I think indeed it already has. We saw him opening Parliament not so long ago, and then trooping the colour, taking the salute, and he's sort of acquiring the trappings of state. And you sort of grow with the institution in that context, and we see Charles then in this different, more majestic setting, and it's less about the individual and more about monarchy.
Yeah, interesting stuff. And another, you wanted to focus in on the service itself, and it's hit some of the front pages. You picked out
it's hit the
double page spread as well in the Mail, and basically the seating arrangements.
Please, this is all about the soap opera for some of the papers. They've got their long lenses in on lots of different individuals. I mean, how are you meant to sit for an hour-plus long service in St Paul's with ramrods straight back, eyes to the front, if you want to avoid the long lens?
Snaps you?
Yeah, now they make a big thing of this kind of, the brothers still apart. Well, the way it was choreographed, the sort of working royals were on one side predominantly, and the Sussexes off to another side with the sort of, well, as Richard Kay puts it, the also-rans of the family, which is a little bit harsh, I think, for dear Thanksgiving service. But yeah, William looking up to the gods, and likewise Harry, both sort of as if they're staring for the answers. And I thought then it was rather sort of poetically picked up that he wasn't looking up at the gods, Boris Johnson, but down at the floor in the long lens picture of him. And of course he was booed as he went into the cathedral, and likewise when he left. And this has been picked up, a sort of ceremony, a celebration of Britishness, predominantly female royal fans outside the cathedral. Normally a Conservative Prime Minister would expect something of a cheer.
Well, yes, and there were a few cheers, I think, but there were also an awful lot of boos, weren't there? And what do you think, Kate, about the seating arrangement? I mean, was that purely as per protocol, they're not working roars anymore, the Sussex, so they were going to be on the other side of the aisle? Or do you think that was a deliberate attempt to avoid the snappers and avoid any kind of scrutiny of what conversations they had with the rest of the family?
I do think there's been a desire to find a soap opera there, because really there was so much criticism before the Sussexes even arrived, saying they might overshadow, and the reason why they might overshadow is because everyone takes pictures of them rather than the other royals, rather than Charles and Camilla, and everyone's so fascinated by this soap opera. And really underneath it all, I think what I saw there was a family supporting the Queen. Harry and Meghan were there, they seemed very happy. It was a family supporting the Queen, so trying to find riffs and excess, I think, is sort of wild obsession with sort of trying to really, we're following on from the long times in which there was so much many attacks on Meghan. But I think, I was out there by St Paul's and there were huge cheers for the Sussexes when they arrived. People were really thrilled to see them back.
But there's also, how do you spin the story? I noticed that some of the commentary of the family going into the cathedral, it was said, well, the Queen's given the Sussexes a special chance so they can ceremoniously proceed down the aisle alone, a moment to themselves, not just with all the rest of the family and the cousins. And yet, if you read some of the press today, they were demoted. That's one of the headlines. They were demoted. So it very much depends, who you believe and what you choose, which story you choose to buy into.
Interesting. Let's move on, because there's a story actually inside the Times, isn't there, that you wanted to focus on, and it's really a look back at some of the key events in the Queen's life, as I understand it.
Yes, so what we've got here is this in the Times, a big survey of what's going to be going on today and tomorrow, the Derby, the Platinum Palace, and the pageant. So the pageant on Sunday, well, fingers crossed it's going to be,
Good
sunny.
weather.
We remember the Diamond Jubilee when we were all out there freezing on the river. And really, it's going to really commemorate not just the Queen, but also her reign since 1952. And, there's going to be everything from vintage cars to Daleks. And what I'm fascinated by is in the state coach we're going to see is apparently it's going to be a video of the Queen, which is going to look completely realistic, the young Queen waving, a bit like the ABBA, we've got these ABBA holographs.
The avatars, yeah.
I'm wondering whether this really is the future of monarchy, that she is the most travelled Queen, she's been around the world 40 times, maybe in the future we're going to have monarchy as an avatar.
Well, yes, and she'll probably be very grateful not to be in that coach, but I understand it's incredibly uncomfortable.
Well, she said
I've not been in it.
It's so uncomfortable,
Clearly.
and she said it was horrible, and the coach was not meant for travelling in at all. Better a video.
And arguably, she could be in the saddle forever if all it requires a hologram.
That's absolutely true. Now, you've got a story in the Eye that you wanted to pick up on.
Yeah, I was at Trooping the Colour, and I came out then into Trafalgar Square, and then tried to get down Whitehall, and it was absolutely packed, uncomfortably so. The police were, trying to keep us in. I think they didn't anticipate the numbers, and I've never actually experienced something like that. And it very much made me think of the Champions League fans in Paris just last weekend, and how they were kettled in, and then there was tear gas, and they finally apologised, UEFA. But being in a big crowd, now clearly that for some people is absolutely where it's at, the sort of adrenaline, the togetherness, but it can be uncomfortable, and they're saying there's going to be yet more crowds this weekend, no matter the weather, more than 1 million to hit London. And I just hope the police are ready for this, and we know how to handle it. A lot of roads are going to be shut off, so if you're looking to travel through central London, don't do it by car. I tried the bike a couple of days ago and had really quite a lot of success.
We've managed a traffic report and a weather report, as well as a newspaper review. You guys are very professional, and I am going to see you in the next hour. But for the moment, thanks both very much indeed. Do stay with us. There's still to come here on Sky News Breakfast. We'll have all the latest coverage of the Queen's Platinum Jubilee. Don't go away.